I'm Xu Tiantian. I am an architect from Beijing, China. First, I would like to thank the Naomi Milgram Foundation for the invitation to speak at the 5th Living Cities Forum. In the past 8 years, we have been mainly working in rural China. And the theme this year, material flows, also provides an opportunity to introduce how we have learned from the wisdom of material and local technique from the rural region. In our working process, we have discovered a variety of materials such as timber, earth, stone, bamboo that have been used by local villages in many different ways. We have also been working with modern sustainable material and new technology in this process. I want to point out that material is often the cultural expression and element in rural villages. And in this process, we have also discovered that the local life, tradition, and history have become an inspiring social material and resource to revitalize these villages. In other words, in this process, architecture could become the healing treatment to restore the cultural heritage of local indigenous peoples, to reduce the environmental impact, and to rebuild urban and cultural economic circulation. And our presentation today will include different regional practice cases. Each one is to look into local material, local resource, and local issues to engage local communities and to provide sustainable solutions. In past 8 years, we have been mainly working in rural China. During this process, architecture is to integrate local context and heritage as a systematic and sustainable strategy or a healing treatment to restore the cultural heritage of indigenous peoples, reduce the environmental impact, and rebuild urban and rural economic circulation. Through our practice in rural, we have also discovered a variety of local materials such as timber, stone, earths, bamboo, that have been used by local villagers in many different ways. At the same time, the local life, history, and tradition have become the inspiring social and cultural material and local resource. So the presentation today will include our regional practice cases in different regions in China. Each one is to look into the local material, local resource, and local issues to engage local communities and to provide sustainable solutions. In a mountain village, Shicang village, a new rural museum is to restore Hakka indenture history. The indenture collection in the Hakka village is a valuable cultural archive as the largest Hakka indenture collection in the country. The indenture system is basically the legal system and foundation of the Hakka society. Here we would like to retrieve the traditional masonry building technique as a metaphor to this village museum. In the beginning of the construction, we could only find 3 skilled workers in the whole region, and they helped to train over a dozen young workers after the construction. This museum also provides an opportunity to revive a lost craftsmanship, the traditional masonry building technique. At the same time, the building has also become a monument reflecting the history of Hakka indenture. With the traditional masonry technique, this museum creates an archaeological pavilion contemplating the history of Hakka indenture. It's also the presentation of local building craftsmanship. An existing drainage on site has been preserved as the additional natural material, together with the light and breeze inviting villagers passing through. It's functioning as a popular summer pavilion open to both villagers and visitors. The cultural context of Hakka indenture has also become a unique and valuable material to restore the village identity. And the new museum has also inspired new investments to convert the adjacent vacant farmer houses into a homestay business and crafts workshop, which provides new employment opportunities for women in this village. Culture and history can restore the legacy of the ancient Wang village that has been totally surrounded by modern factories since the 90s. A new memorial hall in the heart of the village is dedicated to the ancestor Wang Jin, the imperial scholar from Ming Dynasty, to restore the pride and honor of this ancient village. While the building stays quiet on the exterior, the interior is articulated by integrating ancestors' life moments with buildings' structural corners into memorial corners. The articulation of the building not only creates a temple-like interior to walk through the life story of the ancestor, at the same time, it also frees up the central space to accommodate multiple functions. The new memorial hall has rebuilt the pride and honor within the village community, which also brought back the motivation and inspiration for the villagers to further initiate new cultural programs and set up a new business. All these projects engage light maintenance with natural lighting and ventilation as low-tech sustainable public buildings. Unlike some villages in the country with massive investments for tourism, the Songyang acupuncture strategy works within a limited budget to motivate and engage local communities. And this can also provide a sustainable strategy in other rural regions. Next project is the abandoned Shimen Bridge as abandoned infrastructure could also become the valuable local material and resource to restore the local identity. With a new bridge for vehicles built nearby, the old Shimen Bridge has been eventually abandoned and was about to be demolished. We proposed to renovate this existing structure and adding a new timber canopy, which follows the existing bridge structure, stops and opens up at the central enlarged platform. This unsafe infrastructure has been converted into a pedestrian bridge, reconnecting the two villages across the river. Like the traditional lounge bridge, functioning as the meeting point for local community, this new Shimen Bridge also becomes a shared multiple functional public space. It also provides a viewing platform for the adjacent 1,000-years-old ancient water dam. In ancient time, these two villages across river used to be one village and was eventually separated or divided into two by flood. So this new Shimen Bridge becomes a symbol to reunite the two villages once again. At the same time, we have also been working with live bamboo as natural local material. In Hengkeng village, which is surrounded by bamboo forest, the live bamboo provides an alternative building material and structure system. Instead of constructing, the villagers can easily weave the live bamboo into a open leisure space in the nature. This provides an open space for village ceremony as well as a theater in the nature for local opera performance. Every 2 years, villagers can easily remove the dead bamboo and add in a new bamboo into this structure. So we consider this as a metabolic architecture. In rural region, the villages are sharing similar agriculture lifestyle, but almost every village has its own unique product, which is both the intangible cultural heritage and the economic resource. In the case of Xing village, brown sugar, a local product, became the stimulator that connected the economy of its vicinity. Unlike other traditional villages, Xin maintained a rather steady population and agricultural production that generates sufficient income for villagers to build new modern houses. In this case, the brown sugar production became the key element to introduce a village heritage. The traditional cooking process is a striking performance, but the family workshops were under poor conditions. This new factory was programmed to engage the family workshops as a collective economic entity to operate the factory. The improved production conditions also ensure an upgraded production quality to fit with healthy food requirements. The main production space is conceived as a central stage to showcase the traditional brown sugar production as a live performance, which also restore the pride within the community for this unique agricultural tradition. The new factory, tailored for production and public education, has elevated the price of sugar and the village's income. Over 50 villagers returned home and joined this production union. The improved income has also inspired more villagers engage with local ecological sugarcane plantation. The factory is also functioning as a villager center, cultural center during the non-production seasons. In rural practice, it often requires multiple functional, more adaptive, resilient, and efficient architecture to achieve cultural, social, and economic sustainability. Caijia village has always been known for its best tofu production in the county region. A new factory is programmed at the village entrance as a village collective economic entity to engage individual family workshops as the shareholders. All the production spaces are designed and equipped to upgrade tofu product fitting with the food certificate requirements. As the factory supplies tofu for healthy food for local community, it has also become a field trip educational workshop. The factory is an alternative rural museum with the product as live exhibition. A covered walkway invites visitors to observe the traditional tofu making process in sequence. It's an open leisure space shared by both villagers and visitors. The building requires a simple maintenance operation. At the same time, it's promising a moderate economic lifestyle while maintaining regional cultural characteristics at the same time. The tofu factory not only performs as sustainable in the issue of construction and maintenance, but also promises a far-reaching societal resilience. The new production conditions and increased circulation have improved both the quality and price of the village tofu product. Traditionally, the family workshops were operated by individual households to engage in the market economy. With this factory, a new village union is established to integrate all these individual family households or workshops as a collective economic entity to engage into the market economy, which will improve their income and also the performance of this collective or co-op business. After the completion, around 30 young villagers returned home from cities to join the production. The factory has also inspired a more ecological agriculture to ensure the quality of raw material for production. As the living conditions improved in the village, the younger generation of the labor force is motivated to return to their home towns or home villages. In addition, the pleasant environment and accommodations would also attract urban residents to visit or to relocate to the village living. The rural can also provide an alternative living mode for urban residents with the infrastructure of road access and internet connectivity. The strategy of architectural acupuncture is adopted to establish a linkage between the urban and rural, and its stimulation on critical areas aims to generate a new social balance between these two, as well as the well-being of the overall system. Next chapter, I would like to introduce the Jingyun quarries, which is happening in the neighbor county, Jingyun County. The landscape of Jingyun County is characterized by an impressive topography, which is perceived as the ideal Chinese cultural landscape as found in traditional and in our tradition and literature. The meaning and stories are now overlaid with the traces of rapid industrialization and the resulting exploitation of the landscape, which is visible in these over 3,000 abandoned quarries in the region. The project provides a model example for the overall 3,000 quarries in the region to restore the interrupted nature and ecology, and to reuse the quarries as alternative public spaces with new possibilities. The landscape destroyed by uncoordinated quarrying, many abandoned like scarred wounds, calls for a healing process. The strategy is rather sensitive, which also involves changing the meaning of the post-industrial landscape. The design stimulates sustainable, future-oriented development that brings improvements for the stressed ecosystem. The reuse of these abandoned quarries also reconnect the local community with its 1,000 years of quarrying history and heritage in a sentimental dimension. The planning works with a cluster of adjacent quarries to provide supporting facilities for the scenic region. Therefore, this project also reduced the number of new buildings and the environmental impact due to new constructions. The design combines landscape planning, interior design, artistic installations, and social planning with an economic revitalization of the rural area. Here we have some drawings of the unbuilt quarries. For example, the quarry number 2 and number 3 will become the new tea house with cultural ceremonies for visitors. A very light touch with water quarry garden next to the street, which is similar to the viewing platform and enlarged fish pond next to the Sunset Quarry. Both provide a water service and distance as safety barriers from the interrupted topography. Quarry number 4 is which was carved downward to underground to create a set of terraced space with drastic temperature change, could become a summer restaurant. In this way, a ruined and exploited landscape become a sign of departure. A new sustainable coexistence can be linked to narrative about the history of the location. At the moment, we have completed 3 quarries. The construction phase of each quarry is within 6 months, including the geotechnical reinforcement and the architectural intervention. Both the construction time and cost are less than new public building. Quarry number 10 is the first quarry of the cluster, which is based on the request and desire of local quarry workers and community to provide a stage to demonstrate quarrying as local traditional heritage, manufacturing technique, and historical heritage. The performance enables visitors to learn about the physical difficulty, the conditions under which the stones were quarried, and it also present the history of the construction to the public, and could also become part of the collective memory. The many buildings in this region, in the villages, in the towns, or the county urban center, were built from the stones quarried from these abandoned quarries. So the connection between the use of the stones and the working process on site helps the younger generation in particular to learn about the crafts of their ancestors. Quarry number 9 is the second quarry, which was designed as a new quarry theater because of its acoustical quality. This conversion has gained significance for the local opera, which makes an independent contribution to the cultural renewal, along with informal music and dance performances by the local community. Our design is a minimal intervention with only necessary traces to reveal the quarry as a new rural public space with collective memories. The strategy adapted to local needs transforms the negative legacy of the exploitation of natural resources into a symbol of hope in this rural hinterland. Quarry number 8, the third quarry, is developed into a reading and learning place as the combination of a modern public library and a Chinese study. dedicated to the local calligraphy context and spirit of literati by adopting the book mountain, the concept from an ancient poet. Nearby is in the neighborhood, in the neighbor landscape are places where scholars met in historical times to discuss their philosophical ideas. So with this historical and cultural associations, the place is the most important one in the group of quarries, since it communicates a cultural and educational ideal that every school child in China could immediately recognize inscribed in its found situation here. The notion of design is also to connect the sense of ritual and cultural metaphors from different dimensions of time and space, at the same time reusing the quarry as a contemporary public platform. In a way, the ruins caused by exploitation developed into a stage for culture that brings a new perspective to village communities in the region, both ecologically and economically. The abandoned quarries as industrial waste have become the new potential for this region. At the same time, it also expands the boundary of architecture by means of a new ambience based on the spirit of the location and putting architecture at the service of sustainable development. Instead of making more and more new buildings, the adaptive reuse of these existing structures can provide a new dimension of environmental, social, cultural, and economic sustainability. Thank you very much.